And we are live. What's going on YouTube Live? It's your boy Billy Rowe. Today is Wednesday. I'd like to welcome you to the first row. If it is Wednesday, you should already know what that means. It's time for your Wednesday word. That's Wednesday word. Jumping into tonight's topic. Matter of fact, before we jump into tonight's topic, I already see that Bruce is here in the live. What's going on, brother Bruce? Appreciate you joining me. If it's just me and you tonight, then it's just me and you. But I'm ready. And like you said, you're early, so I'm ready. Let's get it. But before we jump in, I do want to let you guys know today is my birthday. And I think that that's very important to bring up, not because it's my birthday. I mean, hey, happy birthday, yay. But I think it's important to bring up because I just want to let you guys know the level of commitment that I have to the first row. I don't care if it's my birthday. I do care if it's like an anniversary or something like that. Then I don't want to get in trouble. I'll just find somebody else to do a Wednesday word. But I just want you guys to know that I'm really committed to this content, bringing it to you every single week. Different points of views, different information, different topics. I'm really committed to that. So part of my birthday gift to myself is being on the Wednesday word and making sure that I am giving you guys the content that I so eagerly look to give every week, and hopefully you eagerly look to receive every week. So that being said, again, welcome to the first row. It's Wednesday. Let's get to it. Tonight's topic is catching up to our change, or catch up to your change. And as always with my topics, I like to say what I mean by the topic. So what do I mean by the topic of catch up to your change? I started thinking about this topic. It's kind of, versus saying what I mean, I've got to tell you how I came up with the topic. I started thinking about this topic when I was looking at a person and their behaviors. I was looking at their behaviors because the person used to be very overweight and had low self-esteem, had some things that just kind of came because they weren't happy in their body. They weren't comfortable in their own skin. And the person worked hard through diligence, diet, exercise to change that. And so they lost a lot of weight, got their body sculpted to how they wanted it to be. But in the things that I was observing from this person, I noticed that in a lot of ways, a lot of their insecurities that they had when they were overweight were still relevant, were still present and accounted for in their new weight. And so I started thinking about how sometimes we make changes in our lives, and those changes can be for the better or for the worse, doesn't matter which direction. But sometimes in our lives we make changes, and though we may make the change, the mental state that comes behind that change is not necessarily immediate. So that's what I mean when I talk about catching up to your change, is really the delay of us realizing that the change is taking place to where we actually assimilate and embrace the change being made. So now we are physically in the change and mentally in the change. So that's what I mean when I say catching up to your change. Tonight I got 4 tools for you. You got to bear with me because technology wants to be a little bit down today. So we're going to make the best of it through my cell phone. So I got 4 tools for you tonight on how you can work to catch up to your change. These are tools that I thought about that have helped me in the changes that I've gone through. And I think that they'll be helpful for you. So let's get straight into it tonight. The first tool that I came up with when it comes to catching up to your change is you got to give yourself permission to change. I'm going to say, have to give ourselves permission to change. And what I mean by that is genetically, our biological makeup, it changes naturally, whether you give it permission or not. It changes. You get older and your metabolism slows down, so now you gain weight if you still eat what you used to eat when you were a kid, or at the pace that you ate when you were a kid. You might find some of the injuries that you thought you bounced back from in childhood, all of a sudden those come back up, and the weather changes, and that bone gets to creaking, or that knee gets to throbbing, or whatever it may be. Those changes are biological, and they happen regardless of whether you accept them or not. But whether you accept them or not. But for the other changes, things where we're trying to better ourselves, make ourselves more mentally aware in today's society, if we're trying to be more woke or more conscious, we have to give ourselves permission to embrace those changes. And in embracing those changes, the reason why I say we have to give ourselves permission is because until we give ourselves permission, whether we have changed or not, our mental state will not match the physical state. So going back to what drove me to this content, looking at somebody who was overweight and they were unhappy with their weight. Look, I'm overweight. I like where I'm at. I'm going to work to get a little smaller, but I'm okay with where I'm at. But looking at somebody who's overweight and they're uncomfortable with their weight, they made a decision to make a change. And they didn't just make the decision, they like really got down to the change, started losing weight, started toning up, started, getting they sexy back or whatever they want to call it. Um, and they got to the place that they wanted to change to. However, in the process, they didn't give themselves permission to let go of the old mentality that they also needed to change with the physical. And so they came to this place where they still have the same overweight insecurities. They still have some of the overweight confidence or the overweight lack of confidence issues. They still have some of the things that or negative or toxic behaviors that they had when they were overweight, or whether that's eating and gorging food or whatever it may be. They still have those behaviors because they haven't given themselves permission to completely change. They were willing to go through the steps and the actions and the process, but they had not given themselves the mental ability to change. And I think that's really what this first tool is about, is giving yourself the mental permission to change. So that way, as you make the physical changes or as you make the intellectual changes, you're able to embrace those changes. One of the things, growing up in the neighborhood I grew up in, one of the things that we were, people who spoke well or, got good jobs and left the neighborhood or whatever it may be, they were always referred to, oh, you sold out, you forgot where you came from. And I think many ways we feel that combative or that battle within ourselves when we make changes for what we perceive to be the better. We feel like we're selling out to our old self. Guess what? If your old self wasn't the best you, if it wasn't the best authentic version of yourself, and you know that, sell that bad boy out. Like, hey, you got to go. And so I think that's the first tool in a nutshell, is really be willing to sell out the old mentality, be willing to throw out the old water, the old programming, so that you can fully move in the new programming that you want to move in. So first tool, give yourself permission to change. The second tool, when it comes to catching up to the change, is a little gem that my friend JC here, hey, what's going on, Mark Anthony, has shared. We've had conversations with each other about, is we have to reset daily. And I mean daily, because we're going to make mistakes. We're going to build up, like, it's like you go out in the world, you get dirty, you come back, you take a shower, you're resetting your body's cleanliness. You go out into the world the next day, you get more dirt on you, you get more muck on you, you take another shower. We have to reset our mindset daily. There's going to be some version of mental buildup when you're going through change. Some of it is just the stress that comes with changing. The body, though the body biologically changes on its own, it is still reluctant to some changes. Like, it's like, yeah, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be that. And mentally, we are sometimes reluctant to changes just because of the conditioning, the programming that we have gone through, whether it's with our family, our loved ones, or if it's, just with our own self in our own head, all the things we've used to beat ourselves up with. Sometimes mentally we are reluctant to move forward and change, and mentally we have that buildup because of, oh man, I'm going through all these things, and now I got to wake up and go to the job again, and now I'm stressed, and all these things, they create a buildup. So it's important to reset daily. And the best way to describe that would be if you've ever gone to any restaurant that has a fryer, and you can tell when that oil that they've been using to fry that product, whether it's fries, fish sticks, chicken sticks, whatever they may be frying, you can tell when that oil is old because the taste is in the food. And when we fail to reset our mental mindset daily, when we fail to do that, eventually our mindset becomes like oil. Okay, hey, Princess JoJo, how do we reset? What are some examples? I will give you some. Let me finish this and I will actually give you some. But we can tell when that oil is old. We can tell when that oil is time to be thrown out and refreshed. But at the same place, you can also tell when that oil is like, ooh, they must have put a new bat of oil in there, because these fries, they're delicious. All I taste is potato and salt. I don't taste fish sticks. I don't taste chicken nuggets. I don't taste nothing else, just potatoes and salt. So that is why the importance of resetting daily is important, is because it allows you to have a fresh vat, a fresh place to pull from every day. And so Princess JoJo JD 2B says, how do we reset? What are some examples? One of the big examples for me actually was taking the reset at the very beginning of my day. And this is what actually began to birth First Row for me years ago. Was I would take about 15 to 30 minutes in the beginning of my day, which meant I had to wake up earlier, but it was worth it. I would take 15 to 30 minutes in the beginning of my day to just simply say, where are my thoughts centered at today? What do I want to center on? Because you go to bed thinking about tons of things. If you have insomnia like me, you might go to bed at 3 o'clock in the morning and you don't know how many thoughts came in the midst of that insomnia window. So by me waking up and intentionally focusing my thoughts, what I was doing was I was focusing my attention, resetting my mind to, okay, yesterday happened and it's in the past. And there might be some things that I need to handle from the previous day, don't get me wrong, but what are my thoughts? What are my intentions today? And so I started doing a thought of the day. And that thought of the day was me taking time to really connect with what my thoughts were, what my focuses were going to be, and then spending intentional time articulating that. So it wasn't just like, my thoughts today are the day is going to be a good day. No, my thoughts would be like, hey, you know, one of my mottos, if we are who we are because of if we are who we are today because of what we practiced being yesterday, then who are we practicing to be for tomorrow? When I start taking that concept and saying, okay, so I practiced being something yesterday, and that's why I am where I'm at today. What do I want to be tomorrow? And that really made my thoughts intentional on today being the day that I get to choose what I want to be tomorrow. So that is one way you can reset. But the other way, and I think that is very helpful in resetting, is reflecting. And so when I used to do one-on-one coaching, I used to use a tactic called RIDE, RIDE. That stands for reflect, identify, define, and execute. And so what I would do is I would look at my day and say, okay, let's reflect on the successes and the failures of the day. What did I do right? Today I woke up, I got out of the bed on time, I didn't hit the snooze button, I got to work on time, I executed on my assignments. What did I do wrong? I spent a little bit too much time at lunch. I didn't help out my son with his homework when he needed help. Maybe I've had a couple of failures as a husband. Okay, so now I've reflected. Now, I'm sorry, I reflected and I've identified. I reflected on what the day held. I've identified the successes and the challenges. Now I'm going to define what success is. So now the definition, what does success look like? So for those things that I executed well on, are those things I want to continue to do? For those things that that I failed to execute on, how do I want to correct those things? Or are those things that I'm okay with falling to the wayside? That is where I'm looking at, okay, things are falling to the wayside. I'm okay with those things falling to the wayside because they don't meet the priority standard for me to focus on them. Or this falls to the wayside, my children are important to me. I cannot allow that to fall to the wayside again. So I define what success looks like. And then it's a matter of setting an intentional plan to execute on that. So that is some ways that you can reset mentally. I hope that answers your question. Your peaks and pits of the day. True. Hey, what's going on, cousin Brian? Self-awareness, reset, facts. Reset is a byproduct of reflection. See, look, I didn't read that just for the record. I'm trying to say I copied you. No, I'm playing. So that's the second tool, is reset daily. The third tool when it comes to catching up to your change is understanding that catching up is a part of the process of change. Change is not something that instantaneously happens. Now, there are obviously a couple of situations where it may instantaneously happen. Our health may instantaneously change it for the worse. And it's not that it's been happening gradually, but it's like when it finally clicks over from it was gradually happening to now you have an emergency or a medical crisis, that change may feel like it's instant. But catching up is part of the process, especially when you're making mental intentional changes. When you're trying to move your mindset from where it is today to where you want to be in the future, there is always going to be a catch-up process that is called development. You have to develop something in order for it to do what you want it to do. So in the gym, if I'm working out and I want to be able to bench press 2 plates of 45 pounds. My son just got home. I don't know if you guys just heard him, but he says hi, everybody. But if you want to bench press 2 45-pound plates, you don't just get under 2 45-pound plates and just throw them up and start bench pressing 45-pound plates. There is a catch-up period that takes place. You know where you want to be at, and you have the mentality of, I'm going to be lifting 45-pound plates. However, the catch-up is a physical catch-up of lifting 10 pounds, 15, 25, 35, a 45-pound plate, getting really solid with that, and then adding 10, 15, 25, 35, and then that other 45-pound plate. So catching up is a natural part of the process of change. And again, it's called development, but it's important during your developmental stage that you're also patient with yourself, that you're not just like, why am I not there yet? And I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm guilty of the why am I not there yet syndrome, we're gonna call it. I'm guilty of it, but it's important to understand that that development, that patience that you have with yourself is giving you time to catch up to where you are trying to get to. So it's like throwing, I don't know if you guys fish, it's like throwing a lure out, casting a lure out from your boat, and now you're reeling it back in. You're trying to catch up to it. Now, if that lure goes out there and snags on a tree, the boat has to do the catching up, not the reel. You're not going to reel yourself to the tree. So realize that catching up is a part of the process. Don't get frustrated that you may not be at mentally, that you might still have some of those insecurities, that you might still have some of those doubts and those challenges. Don't be frustrated by that. Realize that it's a part of the process, and the fact that you have it and you're aware of it should let you know that you are more than likely, not guaranteed, but more than likely headed on the right path of change and catching up to your change. And then the fourth and the final tool on change, catching up to your change, is don't allow doubt to cause you to run back. Don't allow it to cause you to run. I wanted to say initially backwards, but what I really want to say is run back. And what I mean by that is, if we're running a race, let's say I'm running a race, there's 4 people racing, and we're going to do the 400-yard dash. If I'm running and I'm in second place and I fall behind to third place, I don't give up and say, you know what, forget this, I'm not going to win. I'm going to just run back to the start line. If anything, I might assess what I'm doing in that moment, but wherever I'm assessing that at, that is the new start line of the changing of my behaviors. Okay, I'm not kicking my feet strong enough. I'm not pushing myself hard enough. I don't run back to the beginning. And a lot of times we allow those insecurities, whether it's in changes in our weight, changes in our mental capabilities, whatever it may be, we allow those insecurities to cause us to run back to old behaviors, to run back to the start line to where before we change. And you can see this happen. You'll see this happen when people win the lottery. They'll get an abundance of money really quick, and their money shoots through the roof. So the physical change of being broke to having money happens quick, but the mentality of being broke doesn't change. So they buy all these things to try to validate this money that they have, and before they know it, their money's gone. And what happens is you fall right back because you can't pay the taxes, you can't afford the lifestyle, you can't afford the maintenance on a luxury vehicle. All those things revert back to the beginning because of the fact that number one, they didn't manage the growth process correctly to get to the money that they had. But number two, they just their mindset stayed at a place where it wasn't attempting to catch up. It didn't go to the place of, now I have money, how do I invest this money so that I always have money? Because when you start doing that, now your mindset is trying to catch up to, I got an abundance of cash. How can I help people? How can I stay in a position where I can help people and not be broke? How can I have some nice things or travel and do some things and not be broke? Like, there's certain things that come into that. And so really when I say don't allow yourself to run back or don't allow yourself to run backwards, it's about, don't take your change that's over here, and instead of doing the work to get to the change mentally, don't bring the change back down to where you're at because you're not willing to put in the work. Be willing to put in that work that's going to get you to where you want to be, that's going to get you to how you want to be, because that is what catching up to change is about. That is what real change is about. Is we might be somewhere and we may not mentally be there yet, but we're at least working towards it. Or we might see somewhere we want to go, almost like a goal. There's a target out there that I want to hit, but I'm going to have to take about 85 steps to get to it. So really quick to go over the tools again. Tonight's tools, the first tool was give yourself permission to change. The second tool is reset daily. The third tool is catching up is a part of the process of change. And the fourth tool is don't allow doubt to cause you to run back. Don't allow it to cause you to run back to the beginning or the start line. Continue to run and push towards that finish line. So as always with the Wednesday Word, I like to share a personal story, something that kind of got me thinking about this particular topic. And it's funny that this Wednesday Word is falling on my birthday, where I'm already in a hyper reflective mode. And what I started thinking about really has been the journey of First Row, and how each tool in this particular Wednesday Word has applied to that journey. From the very beginning, realizing that, you know what, I want to start working to be a better me. I'm going to share a thought of the day, and then I'm going to share a video, and then I'm sharing videos on a regular basis. And then getting to a place where I start to doubt, because wait a minute, Billy, you have a couple of insecurities of your own. And so are you really the best person to be sharing these insights and to be pouring out your opinion or information into cyberspace? Are you the best person for that? And so those doubts kind of tapered me back, and like, okay, so now I'm not going to do the Wednesday Word for a while. I'm just going to let it be. And then having people saying, hey, where's your thoughts of the day at? I really like those. Bringing me a little bit out of that and moving me back towards, because I was ready to run back to the start line. I'm going to tell you, there's been a couple times where I've been like, I'm ready to run back to the start line and just let Wednesday Word, let First Row chill. But when I became really clear in September of last year on what the potential of First Row was, and how I wanted to impart that potential from just potential to make it to actionable potential that will actually take place. I look at, I don't not have the doubt. I don't not have the fears of rejection and the fears of failure. I don't not have those things. But I'm just really pushing my mental capacity to catch up to where I see this channel, this network being able to be. And so for me, this whole Wednesday Word has really been about my journey in the First Row, from the beginning, the incubation period, to where it is now, to where my mentality is stronger. It's not invincible, but it's stronger to help me get through much more difficult things. And I'm a lot more patient in this developmental stage, because it comes and it goes and ebbs and flows. Like, there's some times where I'm highly being developed for the first row, and then there's other times where I'm in a comfort zone. I'm in a sweet spot. I feel like this has a good buzz going with it. And then there's other times where it's like, ooh, shoot, I don't know if I can make the next peak or meet the next plateau. I think that's what you said, Princess, was your peaks. Yeah, I don't know if I can meet the next peak. But every time, what I find myself doing is getting on the mountain, no matter what the obstacle is, and climbing to the best of my ability. Every once in a while, I got to ask for some help with a safety harness, or ask for some help with some rope. Hey, can you throw me some rope down from the top so I can get up here? But it's really been about surrounding myself with the right people and that believe in the First Row. And I don't think it's just belief in me. I think they believe in me, but I think there's a belief in what the First Row can be for many of us when it comes to the growth that we are all seeking to achieve. And so at the end of the day, catching up to change is something that is going to always be a continual process. It's always going to be relevant if you are pushing to be the best version of you. So I want you guys to take tonight, I really hope you guys take tonight that no matter what process you're working on, no matter what stage and change you're in, that change that you are working on is worth it, because you're worth it. And if you're worth it, then the change has to be worth it. So I really want you guys to know that. And I want you guys to be able to be equally actionable on the actions that you take, and equally intentional on the actions that you take, I should say, towards making those changes. And if you've fallen a little bit behind on your catch up, or let's say you moved your change back a little bit, push that change out a little bit more and push yourself to the max. So other than that, I'm so glad you guys have joined me on this birthday edition of the Wednesday Word. Thank you for those saying, JC and Cousin Brian, saying happy birthday. I definitely appreciate it. One more rotation around this sun. Hopefully I have many more to go, but at the worst, at least there's a legacy of digital content that will always be here to be remembered by. So I hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful Wednesday. I will say really quick, there is an upcoming show on Saturday this week. It'll actually be the first time this show is on air. It's HR, and that is the mentor and mentoree relationships. That's with Bill Buford, and that show will actually be ran by Brother Moses. So if you've watched any of the intersations that he and I do together, Brother Moses is definitely a character, and so he's bringing a couple of his mentors onto the first row to share their knowledge and also inspire and grow. So be there to tune in on Saturday. That's at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Be there to support him. I'll be there to support him. You might get a nugget or two, and it'll definitely be worth your time. So that's the next live event that we have coming up on the first row. Be there. If you have a topic that you want us to discuss on the Wednesday Word, please feel free to send us an email at topics@firstrow.com. That's 1STWROE.com. And then other than that, as always, if you like this video, please share it. If you share this video, please like it. We are always happy to engage with you in the comments. And Princess, special shout out to you. Thank you for taking the time to ask a very direct question in a Wednesday Word. So I'm glad that we can get to that tonight. Again, we're happy to engage with you in the live chat. If you want to engage in the comments and you're watching via the replay, we'll engage with you up until the first week of the content being released. But until the next time that we see you, one love, peace. Thanks for sitting on the first row. God bless.